Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Beauty Connective podcast, where beauty professionals all over the industry are coming together to grow, connect, and get really real about what it's like mixing business with beauty. This episode is brought to you by the Beauty Connective, a brand new beauty directory and search engine created by beauty professionals for beauty professionals that makes it easier than ever for clients in your local area to filter by location, pricing, availability, and read reviews to find you without you having to be on the social media grind. Today, I'm joined by Hannah Wilson, owner of the Hive Nail Bar in Montrose, Colorado. She's here all the way from there, and owner of Nail Nectar, here to talk about all things. I know you've had such a sort of like long journey and made some really big pivots in your career in the beauty industry. Yeah. So kind of start us there. Talk us through some of those like changes that you've been through since you started.
The journey. It's been quite a journey. I actually originally never even wanted to be a nail tech. My best friend did hair, and I was supposed to go back to school after taking a year off from high school and go to college for cosmetic dentistry. And then 2 weeks before I was supposed to go, I had my dorm mate and everything, like my scholarships, everything chosen, and I panicked and freaked out and decided not to go. I was going to go back to upstate New York, which is where I was originally born. And I freaked out, stayed home, and then I was a barista at the time. And my best friend did hair, and she was like, well, why don't you go to school for nails? Like, you're really good at it. And then that way, when you do decide to go to school, like, you can, do nails to make money. So I did. My mom was a huge supporter of it. And ironically, I was able to stay with her. She got sick about a year and a half after I graduated high school and got licensed and everything. And she passed away when I was 24. But in the meantime, I was building my clientele, and nails were like really taking off for me. And I ended up not pursuing the dental industry and worked in a hair salon for like 8 or 9 years. So this is my 14th year of doing nails. And then in 2020, COVID happened, and the salon that I was working at decided to close. And that was when I kind of was at a crossroads of deciding, do I go work in another hair salon and just be a booth renter, or do I open up my own spot? So that was what I did, and that's how I started the Hive. And yeah, it's been a huge journey ever since then too.
Yeah. Okay, dang, because I wasn't even in the beauty industry during COVID.
Yeah.
So to hear that you like went through it during COVID and survived COVID, what was that like?
Oh my gosh. That was intense, definitely intense. I was still working at the hair salon when it happened. I remember specifically the day that we all got like these notifications from like Dora and everything saying like all, what were they called? Non-essential employees and workers had to like not work, just go home, isolate. And I worked with 2 other hairstylists and myself in the salon in my town in Montrose. And the 2 hairstylists were like, well, we're going to go work from home. And honestly, everybody worked from home. Like nobody wanted to be on unemployment if they could help it. And I was like, well, all right, I guess I'll like move my desk home and see where that goes. And I gave all of my clients the option. I was like, listen, this is an environment in my home where I can control, the traffic of people, the sanitation, like I can clean everything in between people. I'll wear a mask, I'll wear gloves. If you're uncomfortable with this, that's okay. I'm not pressuring you at all, but this is what I'm doing for the best of myself and my career. And I honestly had a lot of people come to me. Like they were way more comfortable coming to my house than they were anywhere else, honestly. And I had a neighbor actually go on Facebook on a public post and basically blast me, saying that her neighbor was putting her and her family at risk with COVID and that my bills were no more important than anybody else's. And oh my gosh, I was so like humiliated and thought that, I was going to get in so much trouble. And so many people backed me. They were like, oh my gosh, we know. She never like name dropped me, but everybody knew that it was me. And everyone was really supportive of it, honestly. And so that was crazy. You kind of felt like you were committing this like awful crime by just trying to pay your bills.
Right.
It was nuts. And then I think was it 2 or 3 months later, we were able to go back into the salon. And I did. And the owner of the salon was freaking out. And she was like, no, I'm just not ready. Everyone was really scared. Like nobody really knew what was happening. And it was a wild time. That's for sure. And then I worked with my best friend at the time as well, the one who told me to go to school for nails. And she decided to not come back at all. So then it was just the owner and myself. And yeah, it was crazy. I was like running that whole place basically by myself, but disinfecting, sanitizing. Once I opened up my space, the Hive, in 2020, in September of 2020, there were so many rules and regulations. It was really hard for me to even just find a real estate agent that would meet me in person to show me spaces. And I found this little space and was like, all right, I guess I'll go with it. And I had to have certain signs like on the doors. I had to keep my door locked. Like even the postman like couldn't come in and out like if I needed packages. And I had people like peeking in, like making sure that I was like wearing a mask, and just everyone was ready to like tattle on each other.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, but I mean, I made it.
What a wild time. Seriously. Yeah. It's crazy hearing what you went through, and just, I can imagine, just because, I mean, I was, not even in the beauty industry at all. I was in education, and, that was crazy to navigate. But just knowing that people obviously were so scared for their health, but then on the other side, you have people who are like so scared for their livelihood. Like, we still have to, like you said, pay the bills.
Yeah.
And, but your space is so cute. Like, go look
you.
on, I'm going to tag her and everything in the descriptions, but go look at the Hive Nail Bar, because it's like the cutest little building, the cutest little space.
Thank you.
And you've had it open for what, 6 years almost now?
So I opened in 2020, and I had that small location, just myself, for 2 years. And then in 2022, I hit like major burnout. I had like over 200 clients that I was servicing within a 3 to 4 week span, just myself. I was seeing everybody on the hour. I would see 10 to 11 clients a day, 6 days a week. And I had been doing nails for 8 or 9 years leading up to that. So I had a full clientele, and I had to put a sign on my front door saying like, not accepting new clients, but it was a very high traffic area where people were walking by all the time. And the public is brutal. Like, people are rude and mean, especially when you have a public and commercial space. And I would have people come in and be like, well, I need an appointment. I'd be like, I'm so sorry. The door on the sign, or the sign on the door says, we're not accepting new clients. I can put you on a wait list though. And they would be like, well, what's the point of even having a business? And they'd slam the door, or then they would like slander me on like Facebook, or it was wild. And very like mentally taxing.
Was it just you in this space?
It was just me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was running everything, and I didn't know what I was doing, owning a business, or like I was just trying to survive, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think I really hit burnout. I couldn't handle it anymore. Between seeing that many people, I was living 30 minutes away, so I was traveling back and forth all the time. And I think I just hit a wall. I couldn't do it anymore. So I decided to pull back in 2022. I decided to open up a studio and home and just really take a step back and reassess things. I honestly had a lot of mental breakdowns. My husband can definitely attest to that, where I was just like sobbing pretty much every night. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't think this is the career that I want for myself anymore. I was making good money for the time. That was before inflation like really hit everywhere. But I didn't have a life at all outside of that. So I opened up a studio and home and lost about 2/3 of my clientele when I did that. A lot of people did not want to travel those 30 minutes to come see me. And that was very not expecting that at all. And so not only was I hitting burnout, but I also just felt really like depressed and disheartened by that I was like, wow, I travel every single day for everybody, and you guys can't come and drive 30 minutes for me once every 3 or 4 weeks, So I had to completely rebuild my clientele and really like pivot my mindset a little bit as, is this something that I want to do? And also how am I going to, rebrand and get my name out there to new people that actually are willing to come and travel and see me.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. I know, because I'm trying to math that math of how many clients you were taking like per day.
Oh, it was like, I was seeing like 60 people a week.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And that makes so much sense why you would hit that level of burnout doing that
Yeah.
many clients. I mean, that is not only just physically
Yeah.
like taxing, but also just like mentally and emotionally with how many people that you're talking to and like
Oh, yeah.
interacting with throughout a day. And I don't know, we don't talk about this enough in the beauty industry, but just like people bring in their own energies.
Yeah.
And so you're like,
I'm huge into like the energy of people,
yes,
and you're touching them.
yes.
So on top of that interaction, but also touching them, it's a huge energy exchange.
You're like you're managing a lot of different people's energies throughout the day and working and doing really intricate things with your hands all day. Okay,
And during COVID also, not only are you dealing with people's energies, but politics. Politics were a huge thing.
oh my
I was never
gosh.
a political person before, and I still am not. I'm very neutral. But the amount of like anger and I don't even know, like tenseness that people brought to their appointments during that time. Me being a new business owner, not really knowing how to navigate any of that. And then people being like, well, who did you vote for?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God,
Don't ask me that question.
I was like, this is horrible. Yeah. And I learned very quickly how to not play both sides, but just go right down the middle all the time. And you could tell people of like which side they were on so quickly. And I would just be like, well, I voted for who you voted for or whatever. And then during that was when the COVID vaccine came out. So then I'm that close to people. People are like, did you get vaccinated? Because if you didn't, I don't know if I can keep coming to you. Or, God, you didn't get the vaccine, did you? And I'd be like, no, God, no. Like, why would I do that? I very much learned very quickly how to play that also on top of people's energy. It was a lot.
Oh
it was a lot to juggle.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And so when you did move back to your home space, home studio, you kind of mentioned like having to switch your mindset around and kind of have a new outlook at things. What did that look like?
It was wild. I was super broke. I was going through like a really like big financial struggle because I went from seeing, 60 clients a week to maybe seeing like 12. Like it was a huge drastic adjustment. And granted, I didn't have the overhead of having my shop or anything, but still I had bills to pay. I had a mortgage, I had, car payment, all of that stuff. And I had a friend actually that owned a cleaning business, and she asked me if I wanted to come help her, and I did. And that honestly made me really realize what I didn't want. When you are doing a service like that for somebody, people can be really like, they talk down to you, you're like below them and whatnot. So I did that for a couple of months and realized like, wow, this is definitely not what I want to do. And then I would talk to my husband at night and be like, well, if I didn't do nails anymore, like what else would I do? And I never really came up with a solution. So it's just been part of my life for so long. So that was when I was like, okay, I really need to work on my social media. I don't have a huge following, like at all, but I have a very good local following. So I really just started to post everything that I was doing and like all of my nail art. I was the first one in Montrose in my town to do nail art.
Dang.
Like the first one to introduce chrome, the first one to like introduce all of this stuff. And there really isn't a whole lot of competition there. So I really just tried to hone in on that and really attract people for that. So I started doing that and people started slowly coming in and whatnot. And I actually really started getting into listening to podcasts. And that was really like the big game changer for me. I started following this, he's like a business mentor influencer, and he just really like resonated with me. And he was talking a lot about like mindset shifts and very big into business. And I was like, man, okay, I think I really need to see this as more of a business and not just me. And that really was like a huge game changer. So then I started building up my clientele. A year into working from home, I realized that I really, really hated working from home. I had a lot of clients that don't have boundaries, and that was hard because when you work from home, you really like don't have that separation between like work life and home life. I mean, my house was always clean. I always had like my dishes and laundry caught up, and like my lawn always looked great and whatnot. But people would come in and they would just like invade your space. They would ask you really like private questions. And I also felt very like cabin fevery, like stir crazy. And I used to go out all the time, and I lived 30 minutes away from work, and I would do all my errands like in Montrose, and I lived in another town next door, and I just felt really like cooped up. And my husband worked away from home, so I was just home alone all day. And that felt very isolating. And I didn't realize at the same time I was going through a lot of weird hormonal changes. And that took me like a year to figure that out too. So I dealt with a lot of depression and like extreme like mental health issues. I have a very big family history of mental health issues. So, I mean, a lot of odds were against me, but once I realized that I didn't want to work from home anymore and that I wanted to see it as more of a business, I was like, okay, if I open up another space, it has to be big enough that I can make a space eventually where it's not just me. And I spent like a year finding the right space. I went and looked everywhere, and I wanted it to be back in Montrose. The commercial spaces really are pretty few and far between there. And a lot of the time, since it is such a smaller town, there will be empty spaces, but people will be like, oh, I'm saving it for my cousin. Like, okay, well, it's just sitting here empty. Like, why can't I have it? So I have a really good friend who I met through doing nails, which everybody in my life is so amazing. And they're all through me doing nails. And I met her one day, and she owns a local floral business. She specializes in like super high end weddings in like the Telluride area. And she was like, wow, this is crazy that you're saying that you want a space, because I actually have a space open. It used to be my flower shop. It's like, oh, really? And her and I like have very similar style and taste. And I was actually going back out to New York to visit my family that summer. I was like, okay, let me do that trip. It's in a couple of weeks. When I come back, like, I would love to come see your space. And I walked in and I was like, this is it. Like, this is the space. It was just big enough where I could have like 2 or 3 other techs with me eventually. And I was like, well, is this something that I can handle by myself to start off with? And I just pulled the trigger and we did it. We had to completely remodel it. My husband did all of it, which was amazing. I'm the visionary and come up with these crazy ideas, but he's actually the one that does it all, which I think if anybody follows me, they'll see him in the background a lot, which is amazing.
That's good teamwork right there.
Super good teamwork. He's my best supporter. But I opened it up in October of 2024. It took us about 2 or 3 months to like remodel it and get it going. I was super nervous. Everybody was so excited that I was back in Montrose, and then business started booming again, which was great. But I would say it took me a really long time to find people to work in there with me. I had found a couple of people, just like booth renters, to come in. And, you know, like you were saying, energy, not only is it with your clients, but it's people that work with and around you too. And dealing with women all the time is hard. I mean, we see women all day, every day. We're touching women all day, every day. But like dealing with and working with women, there's a lot of, you know, different dynamics that you have to maneuver around.
Totally.
So I had a couple in there with me, and I mean, a lot of it just didn't work out. It wasn't the right space for somebody. One girl came in and she was new-ish to doing nails, but didn't have like a very established clientele. And my shop is kind of like off of our main street. It's about like two blocks off of our main street, which main street is great anywhere, honestly. Like there's always a lot of foot traffic and whatnot, but I didn't want that from my last experience. I wanted people to make an appointment, be intentional with it, not just pop in and want a $25 set of nails. And this girl was just not building up her clientele very much. And I kept trying to guide her, and seeing her journey made me realize like, I had a huge advantage by working in a hair salon starting off, because regardless if I had clients, if I was physically there, people were booking with me because they saw me there. And I finally like talked to her and I said, hey, I think you would be better elsewhere in like a hair salon, somewhere where there are other people seeing clients, because you're going to build your clientele regardless. And she did. And she actually took like that constructive criticism well and went to a local hair salon, and she's killing it now, which I was like, great. Like, that's what I wanted for you. So it was just me for quite a while. And then Janie Meyer came along last October, and that was crazy, honestly. When I was working from home, do you know Reagan Moore?
Yes.
Okay.
I love Reagan.
I love Reagan. She's so sweet. I took one of her courses on how to attract your ideal clientele. And Janie was one of the speakers there talking about, like on that course, talking about just like business, finances, taxes, all the things that she talks about. And I started following her. And of course, I like give her crap now about like, no, you never followed me back.
Janie!
I know, rude. And so I had been following her forever, and I knew that she was like in Kansas and then back in Utah for a little bit. And she started following me one day. I was like, oh, that's cool. And she just started asking me all these questions about Montrose, Colorado. I was like, this is really weird. Like, why is she asking me this? Well, come to find out, her and her husband had traveled like to and from that area quite a bit. And she's like, well, I'm actually thinking of like coming out there and checking it out so that maybe we can move there. It's like, no way. That's crazy. I was like, yeah, like I'll show you everywhere. Like, I'll tell you everything. What do you need to know? And she's like, well, my husband is applying at this company. He's in construction. He's applying at this company. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's called JK Construction. And I was like, no freaking way. It's like the owner of JK Construction, his wife comes to me, and she's literally sitting in front of me right now as we're talking.
Gosh.
It was so weird. It was such a like strange turn of events, like talk about divine intervention. And I was like, that's crazy. So then, of course, the owner of this construction company and I were talking about it. She's like, well, this guy, he applied from Utah, and, you know, he just seems really great. And we weren't even hiring, but like his resume looked really good, and we're just going to interview him. And I was like, really? So it was crazy. So she came out, we met finally, and it was amazing. And she's so sweet. And she moved out there and started working at the Hive with me.
And I'm jealous all the time I see you guys post, because I'm like, that just looks so fun to like work in a little space like that with you guys. I mean, Janie's one of my favorite people, and what a cool story of how you guys connected and are now just like able to work together in a booming business.
Such a booming business. It was crazy too that she came along because she does structured gel manicures. I was the only one in Montrose, Colorado doing structured gel manicures. So when I was working from home, I was doing everything. I just did whatever service anybody wanted. I was doing hard gel. I was trying to do Gel X and wasn't a huge fan of it. I was doing a lot of acrylics, gel manicures, like everything, regular water pedicures. And before I opened up my shop, I went up to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and I guess was mentored under Hope Goldman, and I learned the waterless pedicure method because I had a shoulder injury from doing regular pedicures. So I was bringing that into the industry also in our area when I reopened up the Hive. And I really, really like doing the pedicures, and I'm the only one on the Western Slope doing them right now. So I was like, man, I have this full clientele of structured gel manicure people. Because when I was working from home, I switched everybody to the structured gel manicure. There are no continued education classes anywhere in Colorado. Like, honestly, like nowhere. So I was all self-taught. And I was like, man, I really like the natural nail journey. That's what I want to do. So I got rid of like all of my other services and just did that. Built a huge clientele doing it that I opened up the Hive again with. But it's like, I really want to get word out and get more clients for the pedicures, but I can't do that with a full clientele of manicure clients. I really need somebody to come in that I can, you know, like have them transition over to so that I can open up my books so that I can get more pedicure clients in. And Janie was like, well, you know, I need to build a clientele. And I was like, oh my gosh, here, like, please help me. And our work is so similar that it was just such a seamless transition. So yeah, I've been so grateful to have her there. She's already been there for 6 months. It's wild to me, and she's doing great and now has a full clientele. Her books are closed to new clients, and now mine are booming with the pedicures. Like, people are just eating it up and loving it.
What a what a dream. What a dream team.
Such a dream. Yeah.
And a great situation.
Yeah.
And like, just to hear how long it's taken you to kind of like get to this place, it's just like a reminder to everybody that just like stay persistent and just keep going.
Gosh. Yeah. I mean, like I woke up this morning and I had looked over some of your questions that you had sent, and my husband was like, well, what are you proud of? What are you proud of? And I was like, I honestly think like my resilience, you know, like just like you fall down 500 times, but you get up 501 times. Like you just have to keep going. But yeah, it's been quite a journey. That's for sure. 14 years in the game. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Feel so old.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I want to talk about waterless pedicures for a second, because we kind of started discussing before we started recording, but, we were saying how there's not a ton of people that do waterless pedicures here in Utah, at least. And you were saying that you're the only one on like the west side of Colorado.
Yeah.
What do you feel like the market is for dry pedicures? Like, what do you think the opportunity is for nail techs who might want to go that route?
Oh my gosh, it's such a game changer, honestly. I started following Hope for quite a while before I even like reached out to her or anything. I just found her on Instagram, started following her, and I was like, man, I feel like she's getting such better results with people's feet than with like the water pedicures. Every time I was doing somebody's pedicure, I felt like their feet were coming out rougher at the end afterward than before. And I just felt like, man, I'm wasting their money. I'm wasting my time and my energy and my products and everything. And I just don't feel like anybody's getting anywhere. So I reached out to her when I got my shoulder injury and was like, listen, I'm not going to be able to do pedicures or maybe not even nails. Like I was doing a pedicure and snapped a tendon in my shoulder while doing it. And I'm pretty tall, and I was sitting in just like a regular like pedicure throne. I wasn't, but the client was, and I was sitting in like the tiny little stool, you know, like all hunched over. And then we're all like scrubbing people's feet just like as hard as we possibly can. And I was like, I feel like my career is going to be over. And this was when I was working from home. So I reached out to her, and she teaches classes every once in a while. I was like, hey, do you have any openings still for somebody to take like your class? And she was teaching one in August, and this was probably in like June. So I had to stop pedicures completely for a while working from home and kind of let that heal. And she was like, yeah, I would love to have you. So I flew up to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and spent the day up there with her and got certified. And I really didn't know how to like convince my clients, I guess, of it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, you know, I feel like you can get way better results and whatnot, but it was more expensive because I had a certification for it. And people were pretty resistant to it at first, but nobody likes change. You know, mm-hmm. It's just the nature of being a human. Yeah. So I had my waterless pedicure chair in the Hive on one side, and then I had my regular pedicure chair on the other. And I was like, you can choose whichever one you want. And literally every single person who eventually went from the water to the waterless were like, I am never going back. Like, this is so much better. So it's all done with an e-file. Nothing is water. I add steam and hot towels at the very end, but it's such a game changer. Like, you get such better results. Your feet are so much smoother. So I use a disposable sanding band on the bottom of people's feet. And I describe it to them because they're like, well, what's the difference? You know? And I'm like, okay, so like take a piece of wood, for example. If a piece of wood is wet and you take sandpaper to it and you're sanding it, like, it's going to look smoother until it dries, and then it's going to be all rough and gross. Like, your feet are the exact same way. If you do it when they're dry, then if you're sanding wood when it's dry, then it's going to come out like nice and smooth. And I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense. So when you put people's feet in water and then you go to scrub it, the skin softens, and then you're just tearing it with like a pumice bar or whatever you're using to exfoliate with. And then you put it back in the water, and then it's just honestly like fraying the skin, if nothing else. Mm-hmm. So they walk away and they're like, oh my gosh, my feet are so soft. Like, they're all, you know, like moisturized and lotioned. And then 3 days later, they're like, wow, my feet are so much rougher than when I started. And when you think about it logically, you're like, oh yeah, totally makes sense. But people are like eating it up in my area. But I mean, eventually I'm going to get to the point where I can't take more clients. So I'm currently hiring. If anybody wants to come work in Montrose,
sign me up.
Yes,
I need to move out there.
Get a U-Haul today.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like waterless pedicures are, I feel the same exact way. I feel like I could never get a regular water pedicure again. And obviously that's just like what people are used to, and that's where everyone has been for so long. But I think too, there's just a huge market for like nail techs that are living in less concentrated areas of nail techs. Like you've mentioned, like Montrose doesn't have as many nail techs. For anyone listening that's like in an area where there's not as many nail techs around you, like not here in Utah, but like outside of Utah, so much opportunity for people. And I feel like you have really just shown that, like with your whole journey and taking the route that made the most sense for you and the route that you were most passionate about.
Yeah, it's definitely, and for like the tech too, like it's so much more ergonomic. There's way less cleanup afterward because you're not having to like run barbicide through your basin or anything like that. And it's less chance of infection for the client too. But my setup is super ergonomic because with my shoulder and being as tall as I am, like I couldn't be hunched over in a chair. So my husband built a like pretty substantial pedestal that my chair goes up on top of. And then my chair also raises. So my chair has 4 motors. So, I mean, people are super high up in the air. And I always warn them, I'm like, hey, you guys are going to be super high in the air. I'm going to stand because it's best for me. And they're all just like, wow, that's great. Like, amazing. So cool. I'll sit when I work on the bottoms of their feet just so I can like really assess it and like do a super good job and get like underneath and all of that. But it's honestly like a huge game changer. And yeah, I can charge a lot for it because I'm the only one there and doing it and people are paying it. And that's a huge thing too that I think people need to realize is like you don't need to have super full books to make really good money. You just have to find the right clientele and you have to market to the type of person that you want and the person will come. Yeah, it's huge.
I'm so inspired by just like the way that you have like followed your passion and also just like had your husband's help with everything and just like it's like you have a vision for something and you make it happen and you build the thing that like doesn't exist yet. And
gosh, it's hard though with that. Like, I mean, we all have that negative mindset too. You know, I struggle with it all the time, but you got to push through.
It's true because that's the only way.
Yeah.
Like if you quit, then you're guaranteed to fail.
100%.
And if you keep going, like inevitably you're going to find success at some point, even if it takes a long time.
Oh my gosh, I failed so many times, like so many times. And I still, like, I joke all the time that I have no idea what I'm doing. But I mean, I know so much more now than I used to. But I mean, there's still so much more to learn and grow. And yeah, but it's all a journey. And look, you always have to be able to look back and be like, wow, look how far I've come. It's wild to think that just like a year and a half ago, I was working from home and like, you know, I guess it was more than that, like a little over 2 years. I was working from home, super broke, like sad, having no idea where to go. Like, and now look at it.
Look how far you've come.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, the waterless pedicures are a huge game changer, especially if you're in a small area and you're the only one offering it. Like, you can just run with it. It's amazing. Yeah.
If there was one piece of advice that you could leave other nail techs with who might be like in a space where they're, you know, not really content with what their current situation is or anything, what would you tell them?
Oh my gosh. Would these be nail techs that have been doing it for a while, you think?
Either way.
Either one.
Either way.
I think you definitely need to sit down with yourself and assess your business and always remember that you are the business, but you can be more than that too. But what do you want out of it? And what, if you're a nail tech that's taking clients, like what kind of client do you want? And like what kind of reputation do you want with your work and with those clients too? You really need to sit down and like assess that with yourself. And I'm a huge proponent, and we were talking about energy and whatnot. Like there is a huge amount of people that are not your ideal clientele too. Huge. And a lot of that can be very draining on you and make you have a lot of self-doubt. So you can always start over and you can always find bigger and better people, opportunities, and clients to be in your life and your business. So
I like that. And we could record for another 3 hours on that topic alone.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for being here today and coming all the
course.
way to chat. Where can everyone find you and follow along?
Oh my gosh. So I am not on TikTok. I have one, but I'm not on there very much, but mostly on Instagram. So I have my personal nail page, which is Wilsons_nails. And then you can find my shop that is thehive.nailbar. So yeah,
Awesome.
we're in Montrose, Colorado.
And we will tag that all so you can find her in the description. And thanks again.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Beauty Connective podcast. If you're a beauty professional who wants to help us revolutionize the beauty industry and make it easier for clients to find you and for you to find clients, create your profile today at thebeautyconnective.com.